My Savior, God, there is none like you. All of my days, I want to praise the wonders of your mighty love. My comfort, my shelter, shower of refuge and strength. Let every breath, all that I have, never cease to worship you. Shout to the Lord, all the earth, let us sing. Power and majesty, praise to the King. Mountains bow down and the seas will roar at the sound of your name. I sing for joy at the work of your hands. Forever I love you, forever I stand. Nothing compares to the promise I have in you. My Jesus, my Savior, Lord, there is none like you. All of my days, I want to praise the wonders of your mighty love. My comfort, my shelter, tower of refuge and strength. Let every breath, all that I have, never cease to worship you. Shout to the Lord, all the earth, let us sing. Power and majesty, praise to the King. Mountains bow down, seas will roar at the sound of your name. I sing for joy at the work of your hand. Forever I love you, forever I stand. Nothing compared to the promise I have in you.
The word of God we are going to meditate is the God who sees me. And when we feel more pressure, or when we are going through certain situations, or even when we are living a happy life, and God is a God who sees us. And we think, does God look at me? Does God watching me, what I'm doing it? How much, I'm going through certain difficulties, or how much challenges I face, or, so I'm just looking for some answers. I'm looking for some breakthrough from God. Does God watch me? So that's what God says to us today. God is a God who sees us. He's a God who sees us, whatever we do. And He is always looking at us. And, generally people would say, I live a good life. And there are people out in the world, they don't even do good things as I do. Is God watching them? Or is God watching me? But God is saying to us, I am a God who sees you. When you are looking desperate to God, He sees you. And sometimes we don't see any answer for our prayers. We keep praying, Lord, I want this thing to happen, Lord. I cannot accept that this is not happening in my life. Or I want something different to happen in my life. Maybe it's a financial breakthrough, or maybe something I want to achieve in my lifetime. I want to do it, Lord, but I don't see anything. But God is a God who sees all our, concerns. When we are depressed, when we are deep in our lifetime, when we are in a deep point in our lifetime, or when we are in a high point where we look for something different, every time God sees us, and He is the one who is always watching us. And there was a Bible verse saying it, the eyes of God is watching over the world to do good. And when we look at, it's not only our good times or bad times, always God's eyes are watching. And some people think, all are doing evil and God is not watching them. It doesn't mean God is not watching. God is a God who shows his anger in a moment. Just a moment, he'll show his anger, when we are moving away from God, or when we are doing something against from God. We don't want to follow God. We know this is not pleasing God, but still, from our own flesh, we try to do something, then, a slight moment, God shows the angriness. But his grace is an everlasting grace. He never and ever, reduces his grace. That's a God. And God is a God who is watching us. When we look for him for, answering our prayers, when we look for him to something happen in our life, he's always watching us. But, he will do everything on his time. When we look at David's life, he was going through all the stages in his life, and sometimes he calls God, don't hide your face from me. If you hide your face, where will I go, Lord? And he always look upon the face of the Lord. Even his good walk before Lord, and even at times he fails to walk his path straight before God, but always he looks at God. So that's what we are going to see. God is a God who is watching us, who sees us. He knows our desires. He knows our heart, our burnings. He knows everything what we are going through. But sometimes things would not change. Doesn't mean God doesn't see us. He always sees us.
Water is turning into wine. Open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you. None like you. Into the darkness you shine. Open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you. None like you. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Into the darkness you and again. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God.
Our God is greater, our God is stronger. Our God is a God who sees us. And when David was all the time he was looking at God, but sometimes he went away from God. When he looked at somebody else's wife, and she fell into lust, and then he commit sins after sin on his uh, own judgment. He did not look upon God. And yeah, so God is a God who watch everything in our life. Same way, when Elijah, when he was challenging all these idol worshippers on the mountain, he was calling everyone and challenging them. And he kills all the idol worshippers. And all of a sudden, when he hears the queen, she intended to kill this guy, Elijah, and he was running away. So he was, running away, and he was thinking. So he was running away, and he was thinking God did not see him because he was very zealous for God, and even he dared to give his life by challenging every other idol worshippers. And now, when he heard the queen, she is determined to kill him. He is running away. Lord, I was the only one person on this place who was very zealous for you, but you don't watch me. I'm getting into a fear. I'm running with all my fears. Are you watching me? So God is a God who sees us in all our circumstances. When we are filled with the fear, when we are filled with anger, when we are filled with sorrow, when we are filled with worry, God is a God who sees us. He'll look at us. And the same way when David was making a lust, God was watching. And then he decided to kill somebody's husband and take her as a wife. And later, God punished David, the firstborn of through the another lady, Bathsheba. And God punished David. David knew God is a God. He shows his angriness when we are walking away from God, when we don't want to, obey God, when we try to choose our own path. He knew it, but still, his, he could not control himself, and he committed a sin, and God was punishing him. But he was thinking somehow God will show grace upon him. He was just waiting upon the Lord until the moment he heard, the child was dead. And God is a God who shows his angry for a moment. But if we look at David's life, and the same God who shows his mercy plentiful to David, and through the same lady another son is born, and to him for David's sake God gave the greater wisdom that anyone else in the world could not have it. That's the grace of our God. So God sees all our heart desires. Even David did not ask for it. Even David never longed to have such a generation for under his genealogy. Somebody could be so wise or somebody could be so powerful. He never thought about it. But God is a God who sows his grace abundantly. So that's what we need to remember in our life. When we are going through difficulties, maybe when we are going through challenges, or when we are going to disappointments, something what we wanted to happen, but it doesn't happen. Is my Lord watching me? Is my God see me? So today, God is saying to us, He is a God who sees all your heart desires. He knows what you are longing for. He knows, what you wanted to happen in your life. And right time, He will bless it abundantly, even you would not have asked for it. That's a God we worship.
This is my desire to honor you, Lord, with all my heart. I worship you. All I have within me, I give you praise. All I adore is in you. Lord, I give you my heart, I give you my soul. I live for you alone. Every breath that I take, every moment I am awake, Lord, have your way in me. This is my desire to honor you, Lord, with all my heart. I worship you. All I have within me, I give you praise. All that I adore is in you. Lord, I give you my heart, I give you my soul. I live for you alone. Every breath that I take, every moment I wait, Lord, have your way in me. Lord, I give you my heart, I give you my soul. I live for you alone. Every breath that I take, every moment I'm awake, Lord, have your way in me. Lord, have your way in me.
We need to lean to God when we are walking away from God, when we are experiencing strange things in our life. We should always lean to God. So that's how David was blessed very graciously. And God told him, your generation, there will be a light always lifted on your generation. David was very pleased with God. Lord, I don't deserve to hear this news. I don't deserve to hear this prophecy about my generations to come. Because David was always lean to God. When he made mistakes and when he realized, he repented and surrendered his life to God. When we look at his son, he inherited all his father's blessing through God. And it was not he was deserved to be a righteous person or wise man on this world. It was David. And for David's sake, God prophesied in his lifetime, your generation, there will be a light, always shine for, your name's sake. But even though Solomon inherited all the blessings and all the wisdom what God gave him, and he even wrote a philosophy and he wrote wise books to share his wisdom. And it was not written in the Bible, but he made sure his wisdom was reached to all his sons, because he heard so many concubines, even he could not count, and he could not spend time one day with each one, that many concubines. But he could not retain his grace of God at the end, because he could not lean to God as his father did. It's a human life. We are flesh and blood. Sometimes we tend to make mistakes. We tend to do on our own strength, hoping God will be won't be doing nothing, or God won't punish us, or God shows His grace, and He is a God of grace. But sometimes God will show His anger, but it is a moment. But when you lean back to God, His grace would be doubled. That's a God of God. That's a great God we have. And when Solomon had all these wisdom, he could not attain the guarantee in his life, and he started mourning. What am I going to do? This is the great wisdom I have gained on this world. I have explored everything to the deeper level. I have gained all the wealth of this world, and what am I going to do? Because he did not have the eternal assurance when his lifetime was over. But when David was overjoyed, when he heard, Lord, I don't deserve to hear how my generations are going to be. I don't even deserve, Lord, to hear about my future, how it is going to end. But even though Solomon had everything that nobody could have on his time, he could not lean to God, because he was always walking with multiple concubines. Each one was worshipping a different idol. Even though he had the wisdom, he did not want to contradict with the belief, because each concubine are from a different king. So that's how he established his kingdom. That's how he built a broader network about his kingdom. He did not want to quarrel, or he did not want to conflict. He did not want to stand zealous for God, what he is, and from who he has all these things. But God is a God who sees. He is the God who watches what we are doing, how our life looks like an example for others, how our walk with God is in this world. Everything He is, looking at us. And when Solomon could not able to follow at the end, no, he did not have the satisfaction of life. And nobody could have all the things what Solomon heard. But even gaining after everything, he did not have the satisfaction on his life, and at the same time, he has no assurance. If I die, I would die any time, but where I am going it's like chasing after the wind. But David never grumbled this way. Lord, don't hide your face from me, Lord. I need to see your face, Lord. Whatever I do a mistake, Lord, whatever the trouble I'm experiencing, Lord, don't hide your face from me, Lord. And that's where David rejoiced in God and he could experience the abundance grace of God.
உம்மை ஆராதிப்பேன், உம்மை ஆராதிப்பேன். என் நாட்கள் முடியும் வரை, என் ஜீவன் பிரியும் வரை, என் சுவாசம் ஒலியும் வரை உம்மை ஆராதிப்பேன், உம்மை ஆராதிப்பேன். தாயின் கருவில் உருவாகும் முன்னே பேர் சொல்லி அழைத்தவர் நீரே. தாயினும் மேலாக அன்பு வைத்து நீர் எனக்காக ஜீவன் தந்தீரே. தாயின் கருவில் உருவாகும் முன்னே பேர் சொல்லி அழைத்தவர் நீரே. தாயினும் மேலாக அன்பு வைத்து நீர் எனக்காக ஜீவன் தந்தீரே. என் நாட்கள் முடியும் வரை, என் ஜீவன் பிரியும் வரை, என் சுவாசம் ஒலியும் வரை உம்மையே ஆராதிப்பேன், உம்மையே ஆராதிப்பேன். எத்தனை முறையில் அறினாலும் அத்தனையும் மன்னித்தீரே. நன்மையும் கிருபையும் தொடர செய்து என்னை மீண்டும் நடக்க வைத்தீர். எத்தனை முறையில் அறினாலும் அத்தனையும் மன்னித்தீரே. நன்மையும் கிருபையும் தொடர செய்து என்னை மீண்டும் நடக்க வைத்தீர். என் நாட்கள் முடியும் வரை, என் ஜீவன் பிரியும் வரை, என் சுவாசம் ஒலியும் வரை உம்மையே ஆராதிப்பேன், உம்மையே ஆராதிப்பேன். பாவி என்றே என்னை தள்ளிடாமல் அன்போடு அணைத்துக் கொண்டீரே. என்னையும் உம்மோடு சேர்த்து கொள்ள நீர் எனக்காக மீண்டும் வருவோரே. பாவி என்றே என்னை தள்ளிடாமல் அன்போடு அணைத்துக் கொண்டீரே. என்னை உம்மோடு சேர்த்து கொள்ள நீர் எனக்காக மீண்டும் வருவோரே. என் நாட்கள் முடியும் வரை, என் ஜீவன் பிரியும் வரை, என் சுவாசம் ஒலியும் வரை உம்மையே ஆராதிப்பேன், உம்மையே ஆராதிப்பேன். என் நாட்கள் முடியும் வரை, என் ஜீவன் பிரியும் வரை, என் சுவாசம் ஒலியும் வரை உம்மையே ஆராதிப்பேன்,
So we need to worship the great God we have. God is a God who sees us every time, every experience in our life. He is watching us. Doesn't mean He does not want to interfere. He does not want to change our circumstances, but He will do everything on His time. And when He does it, it will be full of abundance. And it doesn't mean when somebody doesn't walk before God, He is not watching, but He is a God of grace. When Jonah, he wanted to go and tell the people of Nineveh, but he wanted God to punish them. But God is a God of abundant grace. He always gives opportunities again and again. He does not want to punish his people. And he knows it's a human creation, it's a human tendency. People would move away from their path. But whatever happens, like David, we should always lean on to God. We should come back to our track, and we should surrender ourselves to God. Then we'll experience the tremendous abundance grace of God. And Jonah thought God did not punish them. And when he was sitting under a small tree and he felt so much, it got withered within a few minutes. And God was asking, if you can care for the plant which you did not plant, how much more I will care for my own children? Am I a God to punish my own children? So it doesn't mean God does not watch anything, but God always wants His children to come back to Him so that He can pour out His abundance grace upon His people. So that's why God is telling us, I'm a God who sees you. I'm a God who knows all your desires. I always watch over you. When you fall down, I will hold you. But you may not know I'm after you. You may not know I carry you. You may not know I always think about you. But I'm a God who see you. In all your trouble, in all your challenges, in all your happiness, in all your lifetime, I always carry you. I'm a God who see you.
மறவாமல் நினைத்தீரையா, மனதார நன்றி சொல்வே. என்னை மறவாமல் நினைத்தீரையா, மனதார நன்றி சொல்வே. இரவும் பகலும் என்னை நினைத்து இதுவரை நடத்தினீரே. இரவும் பகலும் என்னை நினைத்து இதுவரை நடத்தினீரே. நன்றி நன்றி ஐயா, கோடி கோடி நன்றி ஐயா. நன்றி நன்றி ஐயா, கோடி கோடி நன்றி ஐயா. எபினேசர் நீதானையா, இதுவரை உதவினீரே. எபினேசர் நீதானையா, இதுவரை உதவினீரே. எல்ரோய் எல்ரோய் என்னையும் கண்டீரே. எப்படி நான் சொல்வேன். எல்ரோய் எல்ரோய் என்னையும் கண்டீரே, எப்படி நான் நன்றி சொல்வேன். நன்றி நன்றி ஐயா, கோடி கோடி நன்றி ஐயா. நன்றி நன்றி ஐயா, கோடி கோடி நன்றி ஐயா. பலவீன நேரங்களில் பலன் தந்தீரையா. பலவீன நேரங்களில் பலன் தந்தீரையா. சுகமானே சுகமானே தழும்புகளால் குடும்பானே, என் குடும்ப மருத்துவர் நீரே. சுகமானே சுகமானே தழும்புகளால் சுகமானே, என் குடும்ப மருத்துவர் நீரே. நன்றி நன்றி ஐயா, கோடி கோடி நன்றி ஐயா. நன்றி நன்றி ஐயா, கோடி கோடி நன்றி ஐயா. தடைகளை உடைத்தீரையா, தள்ளாட விடவில்லையே. தடைகளை உடைத்தீரையா, தள்ளாட விடவில்லையே. சோர்ந்து போன நேரமெல்லாம் தூக்கி என்னை சுமந்து வாக்கு தந்து தேற்றினீரே. சோர்ந்து போன நேரமெல்லாம் தூக்கி என்னை சுமந்து வாக்கு தந்து தேற்றினீரே. நன்றி நன்றி ஐயா, கோடி கோடி நன்றி ஐயா. நன்றி நன்றி ஐயா, கோடி கோடி நன்றி ஐயா. என்னை மறவாமல் நினைத்தீரையா, மனதார நன்றி சொல்வேன். என்னை மறவாமல் நினைத்தீரையா, மனதார நன்றி சொல்வேன். இரவும் பகலும் என்னை நினைத்து இதுவரை நடத்தினீரே. இரவும் பகலும் என்னை நினைத்து இதுவரை நடத்தினீரே. நன்றி நன்றி ஐயா, கோடி கோடி நன்றி ஐயா. நன்றி நன்றி ஐயா, கோடி கோடி நன்றி ஐயா.
When we feel nobody cares, when we think God does not watch, all that I'm doing it for God, but is God care me? Is God cares about me? Yes, God who sees you, God who sees your heart desire. Whenever we fall down, He speaks. Whenever we feel frustrated, He gives encouragement. Because He is a God who is watching over you. He knows when you are upset, He will hug you. He will hold you on His hand. He will strengthen you. He will encourage you. That's what God is telling us today. I'm a God who sees you. I'm a God who watches over you.